3 out of 4 people who get disrespected at work never say a word about it. Not to HR. Not to their manager. Not even to the person who did it. And the reason isn't weakness. It's fear, specifically the fear of retaliation. That's not an opinion. That's straight from the U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, one of the most comprehensive workplace behavior studies ever conducted in this country. But here's what that data doesn't tell you, and what most psychology channels won't either. Silence isn't just a response. It's a signal. And today we're going to talk about what that signal is costing you, and exactly how to change it. Let's start with a scenario most of you have lived. You're in a meeting. A colleague makes a comment, dismissive, condescending, maybe even a little humiliating. Everyone in the room hears it. And you say nothing. You move on. You tell yourself it's not worth it. Sound familiar? Here's what's actually happening in that moment, neurologically and socially. According to behavioral psychology, any behavior that goes unchallenged gets reinforced. That's not motivational language. That's operant conditioning, first described by B.F. Skinner and now a foundational principle in clinical psychology. When you stay silent, you're not keeping the peace. You're teaching the other person that this behavior is acceptable. And the more consistently you do it, the harder it becomes to break that pattern, for both of you. The EEOC Task Force report on workplace harassment found that approximately 75% of workplace harassment incidents are never formally reported. The single biggest reason? People are afraid of retaliation, losing their job, being sidelined, being labeled as difficult. That fear is real, and it's rational. But what most people don't realize is that the psychological cost of staying silent consistently is also real and measurable. Research shows a 70% overlap between low assertiveness and low self-esteem. These two things don't just correlate, they reinforce each other. The less you speak up, the less you believe you have the right to. And the cycle continues. So what's the actual solution? Not aggression. Not confrontation. Not clapping back. The answer, backed by decades of clinical research, is assertiveness. And I want to be specific about what that means because it's widely misunderstood. Assertiveness is not being loud. It's not being rude. It is the ability to communicate your boundaries and expectations clearly, calmly, and consistently, without apology and without aggression. Dr. James Gross at Stanford University has spent over 2 decades studying how people regulate their emotions in social situations. His research identifies a skill called cognitive reappraisal, the ability to consciously reframe how you interpret a situation before you respond to it. His longitudinal data, tracked over 4 years, found that people who used cognitive reappraisal, instead of simply suppressing their emotions, achieved significantly higher social status, stronger professional relationships, and greater long-term well-being. In plain terms, the people who thought before they reacted and responded with clarity instead of silence or explosiveness, those were the people others respected most. Now let's make this practical. Here are 4 evidence-based responses, grounded in assertiveness training protocols used in cognitive behavioral therapy, that you can actually use. 1. Ask for clarity. What do you mean by that? This works because it forces vague, dismissive comments into the open. Most people making low-level digs rely on ambiguity. When you ask them to clarify, they either have to own what they said, or back down. Either way, you've shifted the dynamic without raising your voice. 2. Set a boundary, once calmly. I'm going to let that go this time, but I'd appreciate it if we kept things professional going forward. Short, non-aggressive, unmistakably clear. Boundary-setting behavior like this is directly linked in research to higher self-respect and healthier long-term relationships. 3. Reclaim your space. If you're interrupted or talked over, pause, then calmly continue. As I was saying, assertive communication studies consistently show that the ability to reclaim your turn without escalation is one of the strongest signals of social authority. 4. Name the pattern. I've noticed this has happened a few times now. I'd like to address it directly. A single incident can be written off. A pattern cannot. Naming it forces accountability, and it signals that you are paying attention, even when you haven't been visibly reactive. Here's the part one want you to hold on to. None of this requires a personality transplant. Clinical research on cognitive behavioral therapy, the most evidence-based psychological treatment used in the U.S. today, shows that structured assertiveness programs of just 8 to 12 weeks produce measurable improvements in social anxiety in more than 50% of participants. That means this is a learnable skill, not a personality trait, not something you either have or don't. A skill, like any other, that gets stronger with practice and the right framework. Here's the truth that all of this research points to. You don't have to earn basic respect, but you do have to signal that you expect it. Not through aggression, not through ego, through clarity, consistency, and the quiet confidence of someone who knows exactly where their boundaries are and isn't afraid to hold them. That's what the science says. And that's what the people around you will respond to, whether they realize it or not. If this hit differently than what you usually see on this topic, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you want to go deeper on the psychology of social dynamics, subscribe, because that's exactly what this channel is built around. I'll see you in the next one.